Okay, we are live, baby. Are you
Hello.
ready to get nuts, T?
Ready to get nuts.
Okay. I could not be more pumped up and excited to introduce episode one of The Alpha Edge. Welcome to the very first episode. I'm Craig Siegel, and I'm here with my dear friend, my bestie, and powerhouse coach, Tanya Ezekiel. Together, we're bringing you a dynamic conversation about what it really means to have the alpha edge, the mindset, strategy, and the edge that separates those who lead from maybe those who follow. Interestingly enough, both Tanya and I come from the world of business, finance, and high performance, but we also understand that success isn't just about numbers, strategies, and even execution. It's about something a little bit deeper, and it's about the way that you think, the way that you show up, the energy that you project, and the way you tap into an inner knowing that gives you a true competitive edge. So, without further ado, T, are you ready for episode one? And how are you?
I am so ready for episode one. This has been a little while in the making. We're really excited to be here together. And already just you naming those things of what it takes to have the edge, which is beyond the alpha, right? It's beyond the drive, the ambition, the hard work, the determination that got us here. It's about having the edge where you stay in the long game. It's a longevity game because we all strive for performance, and it means different things to different people. But I know you and I just really connect on this topic, and like a lot of the amazing dynamic conversations we have circle around how do we do more, how do we be more, how do we give more, how do we share more, how do we contribute and inspire and impact more and more and more. And a lot of it comes from our inner work, which I'm really excited to get into.
Let's start right there. No better place to segue. And I couldn't agree with everything that you said more. In regards to the term, like, let's define the alpha edge. What does the alpha edge mean to you?
So it's amazing when you and I kind of like this topic and the title clicked for us. It made so much sense to us, and I'm glad we're spending the time to articulate what it means to us. Because for me, as you stated, we both come from Wall Street backgrounds. We're kind of born for the action, born for the power and the drive and the determination. And also there's a reality that, especially as we're all maturing, that we face, which is it's not just about being the ever ready bunny, right? Like it's not just about just keep go, go, go. And it's not just about working harder. It's about working smarter. And what does smarter mean for each of us? So for me, that's the edge part, right? The working harder part is the alpha. I know how to do that. It's how I'm wired. It's how you're wired. It's a lot of how the people listening to us today are wired. But when you're talking about the long game, which isn't just a 20, 30-year career anymore, it's a 60, 70-year career. When you're talking about the long game, we really have to build a greater toolbox and greater processes for ourselves. So for me, the edge is taking that drive and determination and taking it places it may not go on its own, or if it tries, it might burn out or peter out or or just derail, frankly, right? There's also that risk if you just keep doing things the same way over and over again. Einstein called that insanity.
Yeah. It's funny because you mentioned the long game, maybe 60, 70 years. Different conversation, but I'm even thinking different lifetimes,
Different
right? So
life.
it's the long game, totally different concept there. And I love everything that you're just saying. And for someone that's listening right now, like, oh, I think I connect with some of those things. Maybe I have an alpha edge. How do you differentiate someone in business and maybe leadership that has it and maybe someone that doesn't?
Huh. I don't. I want to be. Want to be really thoughtful about this because I want to engage our listeners. The best outcome from this experience for us, because we have so much to share and so much to offer. The best outcome is for people to kind of relate and stretch, right? So I want everyone listening to us to know that look. we have our days too. We have, everyone has dark places they go to. And the edge for me is really about managing how often you go there and how long you stay. So it's not like we never have dark days. There's days you don't want to get out of bed, and there's days, you and I are both athletic. There's days you don't have the best workout, right? But it's where do you take that thought, right? It's how well do you manage your thoughts, and where do you take those thoughts? So again, to keep it real, we all have some days that are brighter than others, but the self management, which is where the edge comes from, is how often do we go there and how long do we stay? Do we know how to get ourselves out? And do we know how to get ourselves out quickly? And do we also have the awareness that when we go there, there's a lesson to be learned, right? That the light always wins, right? The moment could feel dark, but the light always wins. So how quickly can we get ourselves back on the track? That's the edge to me.
Beautiful.
What is it to you?
There's something that someone that has it possesses that takes them to another level, another gear, no matter what they're faced with, obstacles, challenges, or anything, where they have a higher basement, if you will, right? So I like what you described, where it's not a matter of if we go to these dark places, because nobody's immune from that. Just like public enemy number one, I believe, is our opponent or ego, Satan, whatever we want to label him as right now. But do you get the better of that situation more times than not? Are you doing your part? Is your toolbox wide enough, as you said, to be able to overcome that? And so, and we'll get into this, I'm sure, in a little bit, but like you and I both have different outlets or arenas that we do that to the naked eye, someone would just think, oh, that's a cool hobby, right? Like me, it's running. With you, it's a lot of the badass stuff that you do in the morning, the workouts and other things. But that's all connected to business, to how we perform, to how you show up with your kids, to how we show up with our clients. We do stuff like that to really push ourselves and challenge ourselves in a proactive way to cultivate more of that alpha edge. I know you feel the same, right?
Yeah, it's so awesome because it's true. You think, oh, it's just the workout. Well, it's not, right? It's not just the workout. First of all, it's part of a system, right? It's a part of a system that we create because ultimately, what do we want to do? We want to have greater impact with less stress. In fact, it's funny as you were saying that. I thought of the reaction that I got when I published my first book about 4 years ago now, called "Activate Your Opportunities." The tagline was the change agent's guide to more impact with less stress. And I thought, oh, I'm just going to resonate to people like me who have business experience as I do, or and the response I got was from people who I didn't even know it would touch. And I'm mentioning this because what it helped me realize is, wow, you know what? There are a lot more people out there who want to be change agents, who want to make an impact than we think. Like, I actually think everyone does have the sparks inside of them. It's like everyone can light the fire, but sometimes we pack on so much garbage onto the fire, right? That kind of, you don't see the flames anymore. So the work is both directions. It's keeping the flames going, but it's also getting the clutter out of the way that dims you. So I actually want to kind of play with the assumption that everyone's got some of it, but some of us let our beliefs that work against us work heavier on us. So if I could pick a starting place, it would be this awareness that, what, everyone's got some of it. How do we activate it? Everyone gets opportunities. How do we embrace them? Right? So I believe everyone listening has a spark. Has the spark. By the way, sometimes the sparks get louder when we get challenged. Others take the challenges and get beaten down. But we can all manage our mind game to activate, activate, activate.
Beautiful. That's where we dropped the mic, but we're just getting warmed up. So I was going to ask you the $1 billion question, but it sounds like you just answered it. And what I was going to ask is what I imagine most listeners that are going to see this and catch a replay are thinking, and that is this something that you're born with, or can it be developed? And it sounds like, based on what you just unpacked, is that everybody's born with it to an extent, but those who know how can develop more of it, be able to tap into more of that. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it's fair to go with the assumption of nature plus nurture, right? It's not one or the other. But let's not forget, our mind is powerful. Our mind is so powerful. It can tell us stories of how we don't have it, weren't born with it, it's too late for it. Our mind is so powerful. And so, we have to get curious. When we hear some nonsense coming through that's telling us we don't have what it takes, or we don't have the environment, or we don't, how true is that? We've heard that before, right? How true is that? To just kind of pause and question, because nothing will get you as much as the negative self-talk. Nothing will take away your opportunities, will rob you. Nothing will rob you as much as that.
Yeah.
You agree?
Yeah, I do.
I know mindset's something you're passionate about.
Yeah. And a couple things come to mind that I think will be really valuable. So how much does confidence and building self-trust factor into achieving the alpha edge? Why are you smiling like that?
Because you're gonna love where we go with this. Because I know it's just like, right. It's like what just popped into my head is like, you're always strengthening something. You're either strengthening certainty or you're strengthening doubt. You're always strengthening something. So if you are facing doubts and you keep doubling down on them and doubling down on them and doubling down on them, you're just making it harder to override with certainty, right? If you have moments, and look, it can be a split second. If you have a moment of inspiration and you keep doubling down on that, then it's harder for the doubt to take over. But at any moment, you're always strengthening something. You're strengthening certainty or you're strengthening doubt. What are you choosing?
Yeah, beautiful. So let's just say some doubt creeps in, or we have challenges, which all of us do. Can setbacks actually strengthen an alpha mindset?
Definitely. What do you think? Like, I know you've had some setbacks. We've both been very candid about some of the stuff that have challenged us. So, when I think of, I know you and I share a lot of our, personal goals we set for ourselves and how we overcome that. But when I think of, the PR you set on Saturday, the personal record you set on Saturday, running a 10K, and then not long ago, I was reading in your book, it wasn't that long ago that you had like a foot issue that it could have meant you never ran again.
Yeah.
And here you are, and you keep pushing, and hello, it was 21 degrees outside. So you didn't, if you got up and strengthened the doubt, you know what, there'll be another 10K. It's too cold. What if I don't run well? What if I this? What if I that? If you entertained all the what ifs, then no, but you entertained the certainty and you strengthened it. And every time you do something like that, and that's the thing, sometimes we wait to get certainty before we do something. The certainty comes from showing up to the start line, right? It doesn't get you to the start line necessarily. It comes from showing up to the start line. And I know that sounds kind of like backwards sometimes, but no, what if getting to the start line is what gives you the certainty? Some of us wait to have the certainty before we go to the start line.
And then those people sometimes don't even show because the certainty didn't come yet.
Right. Because because they started strengthening the doubt.
Right. So I think that's so important that you brought that up, because making a non-negotiable commitment with yourself is part of building the alpha edge. So even in the example that you just mentioned, there was a million reasons as to why I wasn't going to go for a PR on Sunday. I'd just been traveling from speaking engagement, got back late, hung out with my brother, which is such a joy, and we didn't eat super healthy, went to bed, got 5 hours of sleep. Next morning, it was probably 10 degrees. and I'm doing these races for a bigger reason. So once I got there and I'm at the start line, I see all these gladiators there. I'm like, hold on a second. Was I really going to let the opponent convince me that I'm just here to take part? I'm here, right? Let's push the envelope here and let's see what we can do. And then the byproduct of that certainty was the PR. And we're talking about a race, but this is really just a metaphor or vehicle for anybody to apply in any arena of life that they're faced with, right?
Yeah. And interestingly, it gave you the certainty, right? It strengthened your certainty. So you may not have shown up with it. You showed up with a commitment rather than, and that commitment gave you certainty to some degree, right? And so when you say the opponent, yeah, that voice of doubt is always there. You just didn't listen. And it was there that morning for many reasons. You didn't eat well, you were out late, you were traveling, you just did a race the week before, all those things. So that voice is there. You just turn that voice down because you grounded yourself in commitment, which I think is really powerful to acknowledge as well, because sometimes just making that choice is enough. Right? Make it because you made the choice and you stuck to your choice. You didn't bring the choice back up for negotiation. You didn't say, well, you know what? I'll see how I feel in the morning. You're like, no, this was a decision already made. Now, that's something that, can work more for some people than others. But what happens is every time you make a decision that you stick to, you strengthen the certainty in your decisions. Right? So now you have certainty in your decisions and your choices. So you know that when you make a decision, you're going to show up to the start line. So you're strengthening certainty, and you're strengthening certainty in your commitments. So now you believe in yourself. You believe that you stick to your word. So I want to back off from there a little bit, because I like people to choose the smallest thing, because it's all those small wins that give you the bigger win. So if you want to start something new, start with the smallest thing that is so easy for you to achieve and do it over and over and over again. Because what you'll be doing is strengthening your certainty in your power to commit. Right? And that is a driver that's the edge, because it gives you confidence in your drive, and it increases your drive, and it gives you longevity.
Beautiful. So I know there's a lot of people in our communities and audiences that are already high achievers, right? So, and you just mentioned start with something small, but maybe something tangible and specific. How can entrepreneurs, executives, and professionals begin to apply this concept today? What is something that they can maybe touch, feel, and taste that they can do or apply immediately to begin to cultivate more of that alpha edge?
Yeah, I think it all comes back to what are you doing to manage yourself better? And we talk about time management. I think time management is a lot to do with it. And really, time management is energy management. We think of time as a very physical thing, but it really is about how do you manage your energy. So I like to start. I always like to start people there as something simple. Like if I'll get people who say, "Oh, I wish I could meditate," and I don't know if meditation does it for you. Then pick meditation as a goal. Well, I can't meditate. Can you meditate 5 minutes? What time of day do you want to meditate 5 minutes? And sometimes it helps to just have an accountability partner. Sometimes I'm often that accountability partner. I'm often the coach that'll just text me after you do the 5 minutes. It doesn't matter. Is 5 minutes going to make a difference? I don't know. But I do know that if this person chooses to meditate from 6 to 6:05 every single morning for 7 days, guess what? Now they built their confidence. The confidence comes from the action. The confidence comes from the action and seeing themselves perform an action, seeing themselves change. Nothing gives confidence like seeing yourself change. It's so, you inspire yourself. You don't even need inspiration from outside. Right? You inspire yourself. So whatever it is, if it's exercise, if it's food, look, we can't deny the basics: sleep, exercise, quiet mind, healthy eating. We can't deny those basics. So it's a good place to start, to pick any single one of those, and the smallest, most achievable goal, and repeating it.
I like how you articulate that. Manage ourselves better. We think about, like, in the wisdom of Kabbalah, we talk about how our gifts aren't ours; they were given to us, and we're the managers of them. So if I'm just applying it to that, it's like, how can we be a better manager of the gifts that
Yeah.
were given to us?
Yeah.
And even just having that awareness to think about or consider, how can I improve managing myself better? Right away, you're kind of opening up that vessel to be able to receive that light, or that download. And it's good to even just, if nothing else, just ask yourself, how can I manage myself better today?
Exactly. And I like how you added today, right? Because I think one of the mistakes we make is to make big goals, big goals. You know, the January 1st resolutions. Forget, you know, I anything I want to change for January 1st, I always start, say, December 20th. I start 1 or 2 weeks before, because there's such a significance to January 1st that sometimes it makes too big a deal out of things. I don't want to make a big deal out of anything. You want to make a choice, start it now, keep it simple. Don't feed that voice of doubt. Don't feed the voice of doubt. Anything that builds certainty, strengthens certainty, strengthens certainty. Um, so so sometimes we just make things too significant. What if it's not significant? What if it's just not a big deal? And you play it down so that it doesn't intimidate you and you don't psych yourself out. That's self-management, right? The edge is knowing, if I do this, it works for me. If I do that, it scares me. Do I need to be scared out of my goals? No, 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 no. You know, it's self-management, is that awareness and that acknowledgement, constantly acknowledging, wow, look at what I just did. Wow, look at how I showed up. Wow, look at just what I completed on time, how I got through my list, what worked for me. Is constantly knowing what works for me. Let me try this. Did that work? Did that not work? It's the constant self-awareness that leads to the self-management.
I love it. Awareness, consciousness, such a big concept. I know we're going to go deeper on that, future episodes and so forth. I'm thinking, I couldn't help but think, I think this is productive to bring up. What are some mistakes that people tend to make that prevent them from developing the alpha edge? And if it's, I'll just kick it off with one that comes to mind is, I see people unwilling to get more and more uncomfortable, which is where all the real growth
Yeah.
lies. And I think if people knew with certainty that their major next level or their expansion of their growth is actually on the other side of getting uncomfortable, they would be looking for any opportunity to get more uncomfortable. And I won't bring it up now, maybe we'll save it for a future discussion, but you and I are doing something now monthly, and we often joke around, but also not. How can we do this and feel even more discomfort when doing it? And it's a joke, but it's opening us up to play even bigger in that specific lane, so to speak. So what is some
I
stuff that you see?
I want to double down on that, because what's really, it ties in. No, no, this is so great, because it ties into what I just said, which is, what if it's not significant, right? And you said we're doing something together to play bigger, and the key word there is we're playing. We're being playful, right? And sometimes we forget to be playful with our goals. We make things so significant. I think that's the biggest mistake, to make things so significant and serious that they take on a life of their own, and it's not fun. Listen, if we're not having fun, it's not worth doing it. So it's the playfulness. So you and I are being playful with our monthly goal, which is how we're actually getting it done, because that's how we're getting uncomfortable. So I think there's really something to be said for that. Like, think about who you like being uncomfortable with, right? Who's willing to be uncomfortable with you, so that the discomfort becomes playful. Because that's a big secret. Big, big secret is how playful can we get with our discomfort.
It's good. I like that because it takes it off the pedestal, right? Because it's hard to be super intimidated by something that you have a playful relationship with.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
like you can't get intimidated by like being silly about something.
Yeah.
It's when we make it so serious, and then the self-judgment. Oh, I shouldn't have had a big junk meal before. Then if you listen to that voice, you wouldn't it would make it much harder to get out of bed the next day.
Yeah.
But you laughed at yourself, right? You're like, well, this is a hell of a night to be like, having this meal with my brother right before I'm running a race, right? Because you made it insignificant, it didn't strengthen the doubt. It didn't have power over you. So I think that's where the edge is. It's getting smarter with playing with the energy of these things. It's getting really smart with, oh, and I'm silly when I'm playful, then it doesn't have power over me, whatever it is. Right? I have power over it. So, and sometimes I've been a coach for 15 years now, and sometimes the toughest breakthroughs happen because I'm willing to be playful with the client. And when they see that I'm not making it significant, it gives them permission to say, maybe it's just not a big deal. Maybe it's not a big deal. And sometimes like using that humor can actually break through a lot of the barriers and the discomfort and the obstacles we set for ourselves. So what would it take to have fun, to have more fun?
As we get ready to land the plane, I want to open a door, and this is really deep stuff, but I know that if someone's watching this, they have the appetite for it. So we referenced earlier a specific example of my race this previous Sunday. So because I showed up, because I had that certainty, because I exercised free will to resist the temptation of the opponent telling me to just phone it in, and then I really surprised myself with my performance, was that me, or was that some divine surprise support? You and I would say creator, someone else might say universe, divine, whatever it is. Was that me, or was that the creator as the byproduct of me assuming the alpha edge consciousness?
All right, this is where we land the plane. Yes. Yes. Okay. So I mentioned this in one of my books. The secret formula to success is knowing it's both, right? It's not just like you said, phone it in, let creation deliver for me. No, that's not how a race is run. And it's not all me, all the time. That's where we're like, that's the alpha, right? The alpha is, if I don't do it myself, it won't get done mentality. And that got us here, but it's not going to get us there. The edge is knowing it's both, right? It's all effort plus all like confidence and belief and knowing, right? Like you said, the knowing that there's other energies that support me in wanting to create, perform, impact, whatever. And it's knowing both. So I would call it a co-creation. It's a co-creation, right? Because sometimes you see people say, it's up to God. Well, it's also up to you. So it's exercising, knowing that I got to show up to the start line. And when I get there, I'm kind of laughing because I can't believe I'm here. I'm so not ready for this race. It's 20 degrees out here. I need some help. Let's go. So it's knowing that you co-create the race. That's really where the secret is.
There's a whole book right there, co-creation, and what you dived in on. I think it's beautiful.
It's
And
the co-creation.
it's funny because when people say that, I don't know if the word is trigger, but it makes me feel some type of way too, because it reminds me of that infamous quote where at some point God said to Moses, enough praying, it's time to get moving, right? Because it's a co-creation. Do the praying and get moving.
Yeah, exactly. The co-creation. Beautiful. A lot more to come from here.
For any of my community that is just being introduced to you for the first time, shame on them. What are you most pumped about right now? And I know there's 2 books that you have, and how can everybody grab them and so forth?
So I do have 2 books. Thank you for bringing it up. We're both authors. I know people enjoy our books on Audible, on Amazon. Just look us up by name. You'll get a lot more where this came from. I'm definitely pumped about the books getting out there more. I'm also really pumped about a continued exploration. I'm finding that the people who are showing up to do the work now have an appetite for more, which is really exciting to, when I started coaching 15 years ago, we could barely say the word energy. Now people know that, what, there's more than meets the eye. And we're learning to play with this unseen, which is really exciting to me, especially because you and I are so passionate about business, passionate about success, passionate about, finance and performance. And I love the appetite with people, with the appetite people are coming to us with. And I know every time we do something together, we also together draw people with that kind of appetite. So I love what's going on. I love the admission of, hey, you know what? I'm going to bust my chops and I'm going to work with some unseen energy as well. I think that combination is just a beautiful space and time for all of us. And I'm just thrilled to be a part of it.
Just real
What about
quick.
you, Greg?
Well, this idea that you just said has me thinking how Craig of the past would have defined the alpha edge compared to Craig of the present, right? And I'll just say this, and maybe we'll leave a little cliffhanger. The Craig of 6 years ago, actually 3 years ago or prior, would have defined the alpha edge as being the hardest worker in the room. That's the edge. And now I think that's so cute when I look back about it, but I give myself grace. I've really elevated my awareness of what's possible. And now I think the alpha edge is being able to connect more to what else is really happening here that might be unseen to the naked eye, and working hard. But that to me is the big separator. And for anyone that's like, these two just, I don't even know what they're talking about, like they lost their mind, we would just ask you to just consider it, and just test it out for yourself.
Yeah, and it's the connection, the chemistry between people. That's where it's at as well, right? Like it's all about the energy that supports our working hard, and that's where we're going with this. Just more awareness and more revelations, explorations, and revelations, so we all can be more rather than do more.
That's right. Hey T, thank you so much for co-creating the Alpha Edge episode 1 with me. And thank you so much for stopping by and dropping these priceless alpha nuggets.
See you all very soon. We're going to keep coming on this channel.
That's right.